So you want to pick the right cloud skills that are in demand in 2025. But how do you do this? Here are 5 cloud skills that have made me loads of money, and if you master just one of these, you'll be making loads of money too. Starting with number 1, cloud security. In 2023, cloud stored data was involved in 82% of data breaches, with companies facing an average cost of $4.5 million per breach. This not only represents real business impact, but highlights why cloud security expertise is in such high demand. Currently, 35% of companies report difficulty finding qualified cloud security professionals, and this skills gap creates significant opportunities for those willing to develop expertise in this field. And as cloud adoption continues growing at over 16% annually, this demand shows no signs of slowing down. And by the way, grab my beginner's guide to the cloud. It's free for a limited time only, link in the description. Now, cloud security requires mastering several interconnected skills. And let's start with understanding the most important, the shared responsibility model. Think of this as like a partnership agreement in cloud security. When you move to the cloud, both you and your cloud provider, like AWS, have distinct security duties. Now, AWS will handle everything you can't physically touch. They secure their data centers, maintain their hardware, and protect their global network. It's almost like renting an apartment. The building owner handles the structure itself and the maintenance, but you're responsible for everything inside of your unit. And in the cloud, this means you protect your applications, your data, and who gets access to them. Data protection forms your next critical security layer. When data moves to the cloud, it needs protection in 2 states: while it's stored, which is at rest, and while it's moving between systems in transit. Now consider how a bank, for example, protects money both in the vault and during transport. Your data needs similar levels of protection. AWS KMS helps manage the encryption keys that keeps this data secure. Now the final piece is staying vigilant through security monitoring and incident response. And this is where tools like AWS Guard Duty acts like a sophisticated security system which continuously watches for suspicious activities. But just having these tools isn't enough. You need to understand what the alerts mean and have clear plans for responding to potential threats. Now, there are several paths that you can take with cloud security specialty. The first of which is cloud security engineer. Now, these cloud security engineer positions currently start at around $120,000 in the US market, with more experienced engineers can command $160,000 or more as they delve deeper into their expertise. Now, cloud security architects operate at a more strategic level, designing complex security frameworks for entire cloud environments. Now, this high-level responsibility commands salaries between $130,000 and $180,000, reflecting the deep technical knowledge and strategic thinking required. By the way, if you want to work with me, I help businesses build, scale, and secure cloud and AI systems on AWS, so just shoot me an email directly. Now, the second skill is AI and machine learning. Companies collect more data than ever before. Processing this data requires powerful AI systems that can analyze information quickly and help them make better decisions. Cloud platforms like AWS provide the ideal environment for this work because they can handle large amounts of data whilst keeping the cost under control. So the first technical skills is creating these learning systems. When building in the cloud, services like AWS SageMaker will give you this complete workspace. You'll create systems with varying levels of complexity, from straightforward ones that study years of sales records to predicting the next month's numbers. And this leads to the second essential skill, machine learning ops, ML ops, or managing these systems at scale. This is like running a sophisticated production facility where your tools track everything: what information was used for training, how the system was set up, and how well it's performing. The third key skill is knowing when to use pre-built solutions. Cloud providers offer ready-to-go tools for common tasks. They handle thousands of requests every second reliably. However, they have their limits. They might struggle with technical language or specialized images. Now, understanding these boundaries help you decide when to use existing tools and when to build your own tailored solutions to your specific needs. So, what sort of roles will you be working in? Well, you may start as an AI cloud engineer, focusing on making these systems run smoothly and reliably. Now, this role typically starts around $130,000. As you develop, you might move toward becoming a data scientist, helping organizations understand their information in real time. These positions often reach $150,000 or more. Now, with experience, many progress to machine learning engineering, focusing on automating and improving AI systems. Now, a machine learning engineer typically can get paid $160,000 or even higher. And by the way, if you like my perspectives and are interested in a career in cloud computing, then consider joining my Cloud Engineer Academy. Academy. I'll take you from beginner with no IT experience to job-ready cloud engineer in just 12 weeks. And don't just take my word for it, go and check out Jay's story, who went from banking with no technical background to cloud hired in less than 6 months. Link in the description. Now, the first most in-demand skills is multi-cloud management. You see, the days of relying on a single cloud provider are fading. Companies now spread their workload across different cloud platforms, much like diversifying an investment portfolio. This approach combines each provider's strengths while protecting against being locked onto one cloud platform. Google Cloud excels at processing massive amounts of information and then teaching computers to learn from it. AWS offers a vast network of data centers and mature tools and services. Azure makes it easy to connect with existing business systems. Meanwhile, some sensitive information still needs to stay on local servers for security or legal reasons. Now, this flexibility helps companies in several ways. Well, firstly, they can negotiate better prices by working with multiple providers. They can use the best tools for each task, and they can tap into new capabilities as they emerge across different platforms. By the way, the skills that I'm talking about today aren't beginner friendly. You don't just start managing and designing multi-cloud systems. This is very much advanced stuff, and that's reflected in the pay in all of these roles, right? But just like when I was coming up in the industry, you know, I've been working in IT for a decade. I always had a vision of where I wanted to be. I saw myself setting up my own businesses and working on my own terms. Now, ultimately, I think everyone wants to do this, especially since 2020, there was a big shift towards entrepreneurship. And by specializing in one of these areas, you can eventually unlock what I've done and set up your own business. But you still have to start at the beginner level, learning the foundational knowledge in the cloud. And that's where my education company, the Cloud Engineer Academy, bridges this gap between where you are today and where you want to be. Okay, so we've covered what multi-cloud management is. Now, this field offers several career paths. Starting as a multi-cloud architect, you'll design and manage systems that work across different cloud providers. Salaries for a multi-cloud architect start at $130,000, reflecting the complexity of working with multi-cloud platforms. Now, as you develop, you might move into a solution architect role. These positions often start around $150,000, requiring both technical expertise and business understanding. Now, the field keeps evolving as cloud providers release new services and new tools. And the real success comes from understanding both the fundamental principles of cloud computing and the specific strengths of each cloud provider. That brings me to the fourth most in-demand skill for 2025, which is DevOps. This is all about ensuring that new software can be built quickly and safely whilst keeping existing services running smoothly. At its core, DevOps connects software development with the systems that run that software. In traditional setups, developers would write code and then hand it off to operations teams to run it. We used to call this term throwing your code over the wall. This slow handoff meant new features took weeks to reach users, and fixing problems was painfully slow. Now, modern cloud systems needed something better. When millions of people are using your software, you can't afford lengthy delays or inconsistent updates. DevOps solves this by creating automated systems that test, verify, and deliver software safely and quickly. And again, there are 4 key skills that you need to master in DevOps. First is writing code that builds your infrastructure automatically. Instead of setting up your servers and services by hand using the AWS console, you need to describe your entire system in code. Using Terraform, you might write a few lines that create a new server, set up its network, and configure its security. The same steps that would take hours to do manually. The second skill is focused on delivering software safely. Now, modern systems use continuous integration and continuous deployment, a fancy way of saying automatically test and deliver software changes. Now, when developers update their code, tools like Jenkins or GitHub Actions automatically run tests to make sure nothing breaks. Now, AWS offers code pipeline for teams deeply invested in their platform. Now, these tools verify that changes work correctly before they reach users, catching any sort of bugs early on while still making sure teams are moving quickly. The third is managing systems configurations consistently. Now, when you're running hundreds of servers, they all need the right software installed and configured the same way. Here is where you can use tools like Ansible, which let you write simple instructions that set up servers identically every single time. Now, this prevents the small differences between servers that often cause these mysterious problems in production. We've all been there. Now, the fourth skill is working with containers, which has changed how we package and run software. Using Docker, you can bundle an application with everything it needs to run, all its code, libraries, and settings in one neat package. This means software runs the same way everywhere, eliminating any common problems when moving between different environments. So the big question is, how much can you get paid? Starting as a DevOps engineer, you can get around $100,000 and you'll build these automated systems. Now, as you advance, you may work as an SRE, a site reliability engineer, who makes over $130,000, or you can specialize in automation engineering, earning over $150,000. The work here varies widely. One day you might be improving a deployment system to deliver software updates faster. The next, you could be building monitoring tools that automatically detect and fix problems before users even notice. Now, the fifth and final skill is cloud native development. This is about building applications specifically designed for the cloud from the ground up, rather than just moving existing applications to the cloud, which we call lift and shift. You see, in 2025, cloud native development will be critical as companies continue moving away from traditional ways of building software. Traditional software development is like building a house and then trying to move it somewhere else. Cloud native development is like building a house that's designed to be wherever you need it to be and whenever you need it. When you build applications specifically for the cloud, you can make changes faster, respond to users' needs immediately, and avoid the headaches of managing physical servers. This is why businesses are increasingly looking for developers who understand how to build software in this cloud native way. And like the other ones, there are 4 key skills that you need as a cloud native developer. The first is building with microservices architectures. Instead of creating one large application, you'll break it down into smaller independent services that each handles a specific task. This approach makes it easier to update individual components of your application and scale busy services without affecting others. The second skill is working with serverless computing. Using services like AWS Lambda, you write code that runs only when needed. The cloud provider will handle all the server management automatically. For example, with serverless, you only pay for the actual processing time, and the system scales automatically with demand. The third is implementing event-driven architecture. Your application responds automatically to specific triggers, a payment being processed, a file being uploaded, or a message being sent. Now, rather than constantly checking for changes, services wake up when they're needed. The fourth is managing APIs, the interfaces that let different services communicate. This involves designing clear, efficient ways for services to exchange data. You need to ensure that these interfaces are secure, reliable, and can handle heavy traffic. Now, good API design makes it easy to add new features or connect with external services like payment processors. Now, if you're starting as a cloud native developer, you'll be earning over $100,000 building applications using modern approaches. The work varies. You might create new services, optimize serverless functions, or design APIs that connect with different parts of a system. Now, many of these developers progress into more specialized roles, focusing on system architecture or reliability engineering. So you've got the 5 most in-demand cloud skills for 2025. You're probably thinking, okay, to master these skills, do I need to get 3 to 4 cloud certifications? The truth is, cloud certifications are as good as worthless. So check out this video where I break down why and what you should do instead.